As you know, today is the last Wednesday of the month. This young man hails from Houston, Texas. Now watch this. Here's my notes. March the 3rd, we had 5 Wednesdays this month. And his topic was, you need to become more valuable enough to the marketplace. March 3rd, March 10th, he was talking about the energy and the crisis they had in Houston. What about if we'd have got a lot more Zoom customers signed up during that ice storm they had? He talked about Verizon versus Alliance. Alliance is a local service down there. Matter of fact, when I lived down in Dallas, I was signing up people left and right, and I took one bill. I made a copy of the bill and showed it to all the people. I must have got about 40, well, no, not that many, about 32 customers showing the comparison. But anyway, on March 10th, he talked about that. March 17th, he talked about Joseph in the Bible, how he was a great entrepreneur, how he never gave up, how he went from prison to the palace. That was powerful. March 17th. On March 28th, he talked about what? 24th. Let's go. What was Prince's song? Let's go crazy. There you go, Miss Belinda Boutique. That's right. And today, I can't wait to hear what he's got to say. He hails from Houston, Texas. Man, he ran top 100 companies in the country, started his own, did very well. He's a mentor to a lot of people. He even goes into Starbucks, bouncing back and forth, just to talk to people. Why are you here? Who are you? Without further ado, my dear friend, the one and only Mr. Dwight Williams. Can we give him a hand?
Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate every opportunity. I hate to see it go because I have a lot of fun doing. I look forward to doing it, actually, and I look forward to doing it for you because you've done so much for us, the team, and for me. Mr. Thomas is an interesting individual. Anytime I go to international, you know the craziest thing, Mr. Thomas, how do you find time to meet with all these people and then you end up handling Sunday service all day? How do you do that? But Mr. Thomas somehow will seek out every key person that he's connected to at an international. He handles internationals like business, Mr. Thomas. And you got a guy that's handling his own meetings, doing his own thing. And then he'll say, hey, Dwight, where are you going to be later? Mr. Thomas, you're not tired? I'm going to sleep. He said, no. Where are you going to be later? We're going to be hanging out. I'll see you there. I'll be there. And if he tells you he's going to see you there, he's going to be there. I remember one time, Mr. Thomas came to see us. Les Brown was there. You remember that? You remember Les Brown came through that day, and he went hollered at Les Brown, and he and Les knew each other. Like, hey, hanging out with the big wigs I just like being around these guys, just hanging out, having fun with them. So I'm just teasing. And in addition to that, I want to say thank you to Mr. Jabri Clemens for all that you do. I've hit him up a couple of times because this technical stuff, to have a technical wizard on your team is somebody that actually knows what they're doing. And so I just want to say, every time I've asked him to do something, I mean, he's just been like, hey man, I got you. I appreciate it. Because you don't have to do it because you're doing it and many people aren't. And you're choosing to do this. And so I just want to say thank you. I want you to know that and that we appreciate you. So with that said, let's have some fun. I mean, since this is the last, let's go out with a bang. I mean, so let's talk about some crazy stuff today. Let's really get crazy. I know I talked about let's go crazy last week, but let's really get crazy this week. And when I say let's get crazy this week, I'm gonna challenge you. Let's challenge ourselves to achieve, because we can't achieve the things that we want to achieve without challenging ourselves. So if we're gonna do incredible things, I was listening to Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey says, how do you be extraordinary? Well, typically extraordinary starts with ordinary, but it's ordinary people that do extra things that ordinary people don't. So extraordinary is simple, isn't it? It's just me doing what would be extra for me in my ordinary state. And so we want to be extraordinary, and it's just, and I like the play on words. Words are words. If you really pay attention to them, they're really simple. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things is what becomes extraordinary. It's awesome. So today, I'm gonna talk. I want to talk about, my favorite subject is faith, and I hope I hope I don't wear it out. But faith, and I said this before, faith. The reason faith is so important to me, it is the key ingredient to everything we achieve. Uh, 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 the Bible says that now faith is. I love those three words, and those three words are my favorite three words. That now faith is. So whatever I believe enough, I can make happen by simply allowing my belief to convert, to transform into action, and I can make those things happen in my life. So my favorite book says that I've already given you everything that you need that pertains to life and godliness. And so if my favorite books, I always ask myself, then why I don't have it? Because I just haven't had the faith to get it. What do you mean by that? Either I haven't had the faith to believe for it to get it, or the timing is just hadn't occurred, because time and chance is to them all. And so I just have to be patient, which is an act of faith. It's for me to believe and to have the patience to wait for the thing I want, and to be committed and consistent to it until it happens. And so faith for me is the key to everything I achieve. So you think I just talk about it with you, but I don't. Everybody I talk to, if I'm talking to somebody about ACN and they spend any amount of time with me, I'm going to eventually be talking about their faith, because I'm not really concerned about them, filling out an app or putting in a service. I want to know what that person believes. I want to know what they wake up each day and see for their lives, and that they have a vision and a dream for themselves. That's what I'm concerned about more than anything. So faith for me is everything. And because faith is so important to me, one of my favorite characters of faith is my buddy David. I just love talking about David. Because why? Because I like killing giants, which is the subject for today. Are you a giant killer? I want to ask you that question. Are you a giant killer? Yeah, I use the A. I didn't use the ER on the end. I put the AH on the end. Are you a giant killer? Not killer. Because David was a giant killer. Now, a couple of things about that, and I mentioned some of it last week. You got a kid delivering sandwiches to his brothers hiding in the city behind the wall with a giant for 40 days that comes out in the morning and in the evening and it makes fun of you. Kid walks up and it says, "Hey, are y'all crazy letting this giant out here talk about it?" And they're like, "You clearly you don't see he's 9 to 10 feet tall and he got a big old shield and a giant sword, and you're a little kid. Hey, drop the sandwiches off and take your back home to daddy." He said, no, not today. This giant is gonna die today. Now, it's hard to kill a giant when you haven't killed anything in your life. You got to kill some stuff in life to kill giants. And so, what I want us to, I want to start off. I want us to talk about this spiritual, because now when I say spiritual word, I'm not, it's not a religious thing. There are three elements of us: our body, our soul, and our spirit. Soul is our intellect, our ability to think and retain information, but our spirit is where our real power is. And because that's the power that can't be measured with numbers, but it's the thing that makes one guy do it and the other guy not. It's that, and it's fueled by faith. So what makes this kid believe he can kill a giant when the soldiers are hiding in the city, not believing they could? And I can tell you right now, it's his faith. But he had killed a lion and a bear. You see, that's what you got to understand. I've killed lions and bears. You kill enough lions and bears, you ain't scared of no giants. After you kill enough lions and bears, you can kill any giant. And so the giant woke up on the 41st day thinking that he was going to be talking all the noise, not realizing that a little kid was going to take his head that day. And see, that's what happens when the giants in our lives bother us too many times. They don't realize that they're going to face a different person one day. A person that has come to the end of the situation, who has decided that I'm not going to let anything stop me today, and I'm sick and tired of being in this place that I am, and I will never be in this place again. And when that person finds himself in that place, that giant will lose his head that day. And so before I proceed, I'm going to ask Mr. Clemens to play a short video from one of my favorite speakers, and then we'll get right into it after that.
It's an urge. Truth be told, every champion has felt it. Every president has felt it. Every king has felt it. Every lion has felt it. Every winner has felt it. Every soldier has felt it. Every victorious person has felt it. The urge to quit. Don't you give up on your dream. I don't care if you don't have the money, you don't have the help, and you don't have the family for it, and you don't have the background for it, and you don't have the friends for it. Don't you give up on your dream. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. It may take you twice as long. You may have to take courses and classes. You might not read as fast. You might not move as quick. You might not have as much, but don't you quit. Don't you quit. Don't you quit. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. As weak as you are, as tired as you are, as many mistakes as you made, you do make a difference. There is something they would lose if you were not there. There was something that they would miss if you were not there. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. Keep hopping. It's for people that are trying to hop their way back home. Come hell or high water, doing the best they can with what they got. That's who we are, doing the best we can with what we got. And we may not break any ribbons and we may not get any trophies, but if we can learn how to hang on in there, we'll be all right. I will not lie to you, I feel like going on. But I have seen days I did not want to get out of bed, didn't want to put on clothes, and didn't even feel like brushing my teeth. I've seen days so dark that I just want to keep driving, and I didn't even care where I ended up or what you called me. They came, and they passed. And they came to pass. I kept the faith. I kept it. I lost a lot of stuff. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of strength. I lost a lot of courage. I lost a lot of time. I lost a lot of money, but I kept down on my knees. I was still believing. Broke, I was believing. Lonely, I was believing. Betrayed, I was. If you lose a job, keep the faith. If you lose a spouse, keep the faith. If you bury your child, keep the faith. If you have to downsize, keep the faith. If you have to move in with your mama, keep the faith. If you're at your wit's end, keep the faith. If you have to catch the bus, keep the faith. If you have to dumb, keep the faith. If you get sick, keep the faith. If you lose your kidneys, keep the faith. If you got heart trouble, keep the faith. You might not get a new heart, but you gotta keep your faith.
Keep the faith. You gotta keep the faith. I know we listen to these things and they seem motivational and inspirational, but they mean more. If we listen to the words, he says, he talked about don't take your eyes off your dreams. Well, faith is the key to your dreams. Because what it says now, faith is the substance of things that we hope for and the evidence of things that are not seen. Faith is the key to all of this stuff. And here's what I want to get. I want to make sure you hear clearly. It is not the money in the bank that is the key to success. It's not the people you know that is the key to success. I have seen people lose their jobs and come to me. I talk to people all the time. I just lost everything. You're in the best place you ever could be. How could that possibly be? I said, well, you talk to me as if you don't believe. But a person that does believe believes that everything happens to them for their good, to their advantage. And so if I find myself in a circumstance or a situation, it must be for my good. But perspective is everything. If I see it negative, then the steps I'm going to take are going to be away from faith. But if I see it positive, the steps I'm going to take are along the path of faith that will lead me. So he says, I've given you everything that you need for life and godliness. Then why don't I have it? Because I took a set of steps based on things I saw that scared me to death. And I didn't believe. I lost belief. I forgot what I saw. I took my eye off my dream and I took a different set of steps because the steps that were before me seemed treacherous. And they scared me to death. But that's where all my stuff was. All I had to do was stay the course. If I had stayed the course, every step I would have taken that I wasn't sure I could have taken would have had the strength necessary for the next step. I'm telling you, it's true. There's a reason I tell you these stories. If you look, when I started my career, I told you a long time ago, I was the least likely to succeed. I was a kid. I was chasing Michael Jordan. I was chasing Bill Gates. I was trying to do a whole lot of crazy stuff. And my parents thought, oh my God, what's wrong with this kid? Now, I'm not suggesting that my kids didn't believe in me because they did, obviously, but they couldn't see. They were like, I don't know where he's going. and clearly he doesn't know either. But God knew. And all the crazy things I was doing is like Peter. I was the one crazy enough to jump off the boat. You got to be that one. And what makes somebody jump off a boat is because they believe in some things so they're convicted of them. So it causes them to act beyond what they see as rational. I was willing to do things beyond what my knowledge told me were limits. There were no limits. And so my faith transcended what I understood. I didn't care about what I thought, or what I understood. I did things that didn't make any sense. That's what faith causes us to do. Faith, I've been in my company, I've gotten calls from Chevron. One of my huge clients, I was a client of theirs. They were a client of mine for years. I've had 20 plus people working there in a contract. They call me in a day and say, hey, we're going to have to let all those people go. I had to make a decision. Do I let the people go or do I keep them? Faith told me to keep them. Next thing you know, I've doubled my size of my company. How? Who cares how? It was the belief and the faith that was coming. So I believe faith causes the worlds around us to do exactly what we want them to. It's when doubt and fear comes into place, it causes the world to adapt because fear is faith, isn't it? It's just faith in what you don't want versus faith is faith in what you do want. So based on that, when I begin to allow doubt and fear to come into my situation, it attracts the very thing to me that I don't want. Because if faith in a thing attracts that thing to me, fear is faith that attracts the very thing I don't want to me. Because what is the key? The key is what I believe and those beliefs that cause me to take action. They begin to attract the world around me that I live in. And that's why we can have no fear. You have to have crazy courage to believe in a thing, to be so convicted of a thing that it causes you to act irrational. You have to. You think success is easy? Success is not easy. I tell the story. My son, when my wife was pregnant with my son, we got a report, he's going to be Down syndrome. And that report hit us. I mean, it's and so we had, and they say, well, you know, before we proceed, we'd like for you guys to make a decision. Decision's already been made. If he's born and he's birth healthy, but he might, that's irrelevant. Matter of fact, who defines what normal is and what abnormal is? Who defines what a disability is or what a disability ain't? Everything God created was good. And if he says it was good and he creates it, then it's good to me, and I will do whatever I have to do to take care of it. Because hidden in there somewhere is a blessing. Believe you me, understand. And because why? Because the only reason I would have made a different choice was my fear, my doubt that God didn't have a perfect plan for that. And I would have missed out on the very thing he had for me, because my son ended up graduating from college with honors. Think about that. Think about it. But we allow the challenges in life. Why are we so scared of challenge? Why do people who say they want to be millionaires and they want to be successful scared to death of every little challenge that comes their way? How can you have greatness when you're not willing to do great things? Great things are not easy things. Great things are extraordinary things. They're the things that ordinary people will not do. So if you're going to be great, don't think it's going to be easy. It's going to be littered with challenges and obstacles all along the way. But I promise you, at the end, it'll be worth it. The thing that you see, I told you a while back, you didn't put it there. God placed it there. And if he put it there, he put it there for it to be manifest. But so therefore, the only ingredient in the recipe that can cause that thing not to be manifest is you. Your doubt and your fear is the only thing that causes it. If you are not in a place that you want to be, it is because of you. If you're not doing what you want to do, then go do it. Who's stopping you? Somebody got you tied up? Somebody got a gun on you? Nobody is. So the only reason you're not doing the thing you want to do is because you're choosing not to do it. You want to do it? Go do it. I promise you, he has you just have to take the step. Just because you can't see the way doesn't mean that it's not there. It is there. I promise you it is there. I guarantee you it's there. And the reason I'm talking to you this way before this month is over, it is the first quarter of the year. We've been talking for 2 months this year. I will not let another year go by without you hearing what I really have to say. And this ain't even it. The things I talk to the people that are closest to me, like my family and my son, if you ever talk to my son, he's heard this conversation a million times, and a million times harder than this. Why? Because to achieve the things that we want in life, they're not cheap. They're not free, but they are worth it. They are worth it. I promise you. I see all the meetings Mr. Thomas has, and my hat is I forget, I can't even get the word. My hat is off toward you, Mr. Sir, because I understand why. And let me tell you guys something. He will never get tired. He will never stop. He'll never quit. Why? Because what he sees for you, he will not quit until you stop. Why? Because we can't quit. Because success for him is your success. That's what you got to understand. And so to quit is, he can only quit when you decide to quit. And as long as you won't quit, he will not quit. It is built into the DNA of a champion. Champions must reproduce champions. It is the very definition of what a champion is. It's not enough. It was never enough for me to have a house with a glass window surrounded. It was never enough. I could never live in that world by myself. I had to create people. The most important thing for a champion to do is to reproduce. It is to reproduce. Nothing else is. Money is not what's important. Houses and cars, that's not what is important. What's important is the impact you make on other people's lives. Christ said, I have been faithful with all that you've given me. Everybody that you've placed around me, I have poured myself into them. Another story. My whole team, I was at a low point in my business, and and I was something caused me to get all my employees on the phone one day, and I had a company conference call. I said, hey guys, two things I want you to know. We're at a low point. We're at a challenging time in our company, and we may have some issues in payroll. So, but I want to give you all the opportunity to make a decision, but I really need you more than that. Now, I want you to know, this is not a traditional company. These are not people that I hired from college that I interviewed and brought in. Most of the people that were here, I trained them and developed them on the revenues that I had been producing. I would fly in on a Friday night. I'd rent a training center. I trained till Sunday, and Sunday afternoon, I'd get on a flight going back to work. I'd come back the next Friday and do the same thing. And I did that for years. And I got those people to a point where I could hire most of them. And and one of them was even my brother. And I will give you these numbers. When I hired my brother, he's making probably 30 grand. When he left, he was doing 150 grand, working 2 weeks a month. Now, these are the people that were working for me. Now, when I had that conference call, I'm a real big advocate of people being free. And I told them, but I want you guys to be free to take care of yourselves and do what you got to do. And if you decide to come stay, I really need you. But if you don't, I understand. How many of you think stayed? Anybody want to tell me how many you think stayed? Maybe, 5?
All of them. All of them.
All of them? You think all of them? 0. Every single one left, including my brother. Everybody left. Now, most people would say, wow. And it was a hard moment for me. That was a tough place to be in. But I would not trade that position today for anything. Why? It is those moments that make you. And I would not trade a moment like that. I tell people all the time, there are only 3 things in my life that you cannot have: my faith, my family, and my foundation. The foundation being the list of experiences, that the group of knowledge, information, experiences that I've attained over time that define who I am. Other than that, you can have everything else. I don't care about any of the rest of that stuff. Why? Because those experiences have shaped the person that I am and have helped me. I faced the same circumstance. I hired most of those people back once I got the business back on its feet. I faced that same circumstance again many years later. I paid each one of them, the ones I was letting go, a severance package of multiple months. And I was still producing an incredible amount of revenue, but I couldn't. What did I do? I didn't take that situation and let it define me. I took that situation and used it to help me elevate. That's what we do as leaders. See, water seeks the lowest point. And typically, we as individuals seek the lowest point through comfort. There was a video I had thought about playing, but I didn't want this conversation to be from a negative perspective. I wanted it to be from even though it's the same conversation, I wanted to approach the conversation from a positive angle versus from the negative angle. But the truth be told, comfort is the enemy of human progress. And so when I see binging on Netflix and watching the news, you have to be very careful. The Bible says, think on these things. It says, think on things that are lovely, things that are pure, things that are of a good report. And if there be any virtue, meaning look for the stuff that encourages you and lifts you up. If there be any praise, look for things that are positive, that deserve celebration. Think on these things. But look at our world, though. Reality TV, drama, news, negative. Why isn't there a news station that focuses on all the positive achievements that we make in life? News, I have this conversation with people all the time about news. News, Why do they talk about what they talk about? Because people don't pay for the positive stuff. Nobody cares about that. They pay for controversy and all the negative stuff. So I look at news, it's tainted. So I can't consume something that it's like eating candy. It's not healthy for me. It's got a bunch of chemicals in it and bad ingredients that doesn't contribute to my health. So I can't eat this content because it doesn't contribute to the direction. It will take me off my path. And me, unlike most, I want everything God said he had for me that pertained to life and God. I want everyone. It's like one of those games on your phone where you're going through the path, picking up the pearls. I want every pearl. I don't want to miss not one. You know how you can skip some and get the ones down the road? I don't want to miss any of mine. I want every one of the things he has for me. I want them all. And the only way I'm going to get them is every step that I take it by faith. Therefore, there can be no doubt, there can be no fear, there can be only courage and faith in his word. So I face those things. Here's another one. My daughter, my wife and I had to make a decision. My daughter went to a private Christian school, and and that school had never graduated anybody to a major D1 college. And so so my wife and I had to sit down. We had to make a decision. Do we choose according to our faith, or do we put her in a school that can get her on the path? Well, see, I can't choose what I understand. See, I don't want to live an ordinary life. And the only way to live an extraordinary life is to do extraordinary stuff. So I got to do stuff that doesn't make sense to me, that I know, that I believe by faith is right. That's what I got to do. I got to do those things and believe that those things, even though it doesn't look like they're going to end up in the right place, they look like I'm going to end up looking like a dumb. I'm going to be the one left behind. I'm going to be the person that doesn't succeed. I'm going to be the person that won't make it. I'm going to be behind everybody else. But I'm willing to do those things. Why? Because they find themselves in alignment with my faith. And because they align with my faith, I got to believe his plan is different from my plan. But his plan, I just can't see it. But I just got to do according to what he says works. And I got to believe that those things work. So we put our daughter, not 6 years, not 9 years, but her entire school career was in that school. My daughter graduated from that school and went to Rice University. She was the first graduate that had ever graduated to a school, Ivy League school ever from that school. But it's what we believe. What do we believe? And I always ask that question. What do you believe? And it's not enough to say, I believe it, but do you believe it so much that you're convicted of it, that you'll do it, even if it's not popular, even if everybody around you is doing something different? Do you believe it? Because if you don't, you think life is not going to test you? Safe, comfort is at the bottom of the mountain. It's treacherous, the path to the peak. The path to the peak of that mountain is not easy. The path to the peak of that mountain is treacherous. It is laid out with risk of you falling to your death. It will be grueling for your fingers. And there are going to be times when you're not going to find a divot to put your hands in to pull yourself up. You're not going to know how you're going to make the next step. Every step is treacherous, and the higher you get, the more risk. But everybody wants to peak. Nobody wants to journey. Comfort is at the foot of the mountain. Safety is at the foot of the mountain. And like water, we seek the lowest point. Many of us turn around, we look at it, we look up and say, yeah, I'd love to be there, but I ain't willing to climb. I'm not willing to climb this mountain. I'm not willing to make the sacrifices necessary to, yeah, I want it. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't. You say you do. It's like my father used to tell me, my mother would make some sandwiches and she'd sit them on, I'd walk in and say, no, Ma, I don't want that. I want that. My dad would say, don't you fix him, not one thing. He's not hungry. He just got a taste for something. Just leave it sitting right there. We're not fixing you nothing else. Well, I'm hungry. No, go back on outside and play. Well, you play out there in that 95-degree weather another couple of hours. Whatever sandwich I thought I wanted, that sandwich that she made, it tastes just like that sandwich. You can believe that. That's exactly what is on that sandwich. That's the sandwich I wanted. You know what? I always wanted that sandwich right there. So we seek, we say we want things, but we really don't know we want. How do you not consider the path to the place that you say you want to go? So when I've told you this before, when people say, "Hey, Mr. Dwight, I want to meet with you," do you? Yeah, I do. Well, you know, I'm here every morning at 6 o'clock. Why don't you meet with me? Oh, well, I'll be here tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. They don't show up. They didn't want to meet with me. They had a feeling that they might want to, but they're not willing to make the sacrifice to do it. See, what people say is meaningless to me. It's what they do that I care about. Most people don't do the things that they say they are not willing to do the things necessary that they say they want. I look at Mr. Thomas, I look at Mr. Clemens, I look at Miss Driscoll, I look at Miss Ismail. I look at these people, man, they're on every call. I look at Mr. Julian Lewis. He's presenting and he's busy. Those guys, you got to think about it. Those guys are presenting all day. And they get on a call like this and they present here and they go right to work from this call. And because it's one thing to celebrate their numbers. But when do they produce these numbers? Well, they're producing these numbers when they're not presenting. They're working when you don't see them. It's just like the champions in any sport. They say that Larry Bird, people celebrated Larry Bird, but what you don't realize, they say Larry Bird would win a championship game and he'd wait for all of the people to leave the Coliseum and he'd have them lock him in and shoot free throws all night. This is the life of a champion. So before you say that you want it, because nothing can stop you from getting it. So I want to clear that up for you right now. Why am I not where I want to be? Because I have chosen not to be there yet. I want you don't have to say it, but I'm telling you, or the time has not happened yet. Okay, let me add that to it. So either I have chosen not to be there or I'm on track to being there at this point. Other than that, it's by my choice. Well, you say, well, what if I want to be there faster? Well, get better faster. Well, how do I get better? Work harder, study harder, plug in harder, connect to the team harder, outperform everybody, get more numbers than everybody. How do I measure my success? Well, who's the top guy on the team? Beat that guy. Now, is it competition? Kinda. But what you're doing is you're using that person to kind of set goals for yourself. That's all you're doing. You're just leveraging that guy to your advantage, or that young lady to your advantage. That's all you're doing. But to have an aggressive fight and I'm trying to beat you. The only people, truthfully, the only person you need to be competing with is you. Really. Because if you don't, once you surpass everybody in your circle, you'll be lost. The greatest competitor for me is me. Nobody can outwork me. Nobody. Most people, my son, he hates dealing with his dad. Why? My entire family will tell you that on vacation, dad is up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know how he does it. Why? I have to do it. Why? Because I can't let my employees outwork me. I can't ever get comfortable. Why? Because I have been given this life that has extraordinary potential. I don't have time to waste. I want to see everything I can achieve. And I won't let anything, I don't want to miss anything. And with that said, oh, one last thing, Mr. Thomas, is discipline is the other key. I want to show you something. Money without discipline produces poverty or lack. Money with discipline produces wealth. A body without discipline decays and dies, unhealthy. Body with discipline, healthy and fit, extended life. A life without discipline leads to regret. A life with discipline is a destiny fulfilled. So you can't live. You can't do this. Comfort doesn't like discipline. I say this to people all the time. People say, man, there's too many poor people. No. Why did Jesus say the poor will be with you always? Because it's easier to be poor than wealthy. Wealth requires discipline. And most people don't want the discipline that wealth requires. I got a young lady right now, came into some money. And I told her, do not spend a dime of that money. Do not spend a dime. I need to take the check. I need to take this money from you. I talked to her the other day. Where's the money? I had to spend $5,000. Well, what if you hadn't gotten the money? You wouldn't have had to spend $5,000. What would you have done if that money never showed up? Absolutely. Discipline, and let me tell you something. This person, I want like air to see them win. And I can't win for them. But I have to focus on helping them develop the disciplines, because believe you me, wealth is her destiny. And when you can see that, that's why you're tough on people. And why you say that? Because I watch how God blesses people and the things he does in their lives and how he moves in their lives. And I can see on this person's life the finger of God's wealth in their life. So am I going to be tough and hard? Absolutely. I'm going to play my role. I told you earlier, Christ said, I have been faithful with all that thou hast given me. And I plan to be faithful. And with that, Mr. Thomas, I turn it over to you.